This is Deborah Atkinson, and you're listening to Flipping 50, where I address your top questions and struggles. I share what to eat, how to move, and how to think to get the energy and the vitality that you want in this second and better half. And it is 2018, so I am going to dive right in to how you can upgrade your workout in 2018. So the title, the hot, sexy title, was Instantly Upgrade Your Workout. And I'm going to give you 4 specific ideas for upgrading your workout right now, today, this week, and this month, if not all year long. So this applies to a woman who's flipping 50, approaching 50, on the other side of 50, and you're not seeing as much as far as return on your investment of time as you'd like to. You're already exercising, or you're thinking about getting started. I want you to know, if you're just starting or restarting, that these would be your next thing. So some of these will be something that you would add to a plan or a good foundation that you already have in place. You might not jump right in there. We all need to get and establish a foundation of regular exercise and then look at how can I shake things up a little bit. That's what this is all about. So if you're just getting restarted, do some basics for the first couple of weeks. Twice a week, do your strength training. Make sure you have plenty of rest time in between. And, then look at the second, third, fourth week of January. Once you've got that pattern established, then look at, all right, I'm ready to add something new and different and give my muscles a surprise. What would that be? So number 1 is add power. And what I mean by that is typically we've been told and taught, go slow and controlled. You're going to lift on a count of 1 to 2 beats. You're going to lower the weight down in 3 to 4 beats. And that's ideal. Now, that said, not everybody does that. We get in a hurry and we may be talking at the same time with someone else. We may be moving a little bit too quickly in a class, and we're not necessarily doing this. We're maybe swinging, getting a little bit more momentum from the weights than we should, meaning that your muscles are not doing the work and your muscles then don't get the benefit. That's fair. But adding power goes like this. Let's say you are doing 1 to 2 seconds to lift, 3 to 4 seconds to lower. Instead, what you're going to do is lift in one quick movement. Make it powerful without locking your joints at the end point. And then you're still going to lower with that additional control. So it might be 1 second or less to lift the weight, and then 3 to 4 seconds to lower the weight. We call that the eccentric contraction. When you're putting a weight down, even if gravity is doing the pull and would overtake you if you let it, we still want to slow that down, because 60% of your work effort, the actual benefit that you get from exercise, happens because of that eccentric contraction. So take advantage of that. But the power comes in the lifting phase. And what we know about power is that adding power to an exercise that you've already been able to do well with good form can boost the energy expenditure that you have during that workout. And studies are also showing that it can help boost bone density. It's a winner over slow and controlled exercise. So think about, what are your goals, your biggest priorities? What would you like to happen in 3 months if your exercise program was successful? And then you find out or define your workout and the changes you want to apply to it based on that. So if energy expenditure, which may help ultimately with fat burning or bone density, are on your goal sheet, then power may be the next way to go. One thing you want to keep in mind, if you've been lifting fairly heavily, what you might want to do is back down off of the weight just by a small percent and then apply your power. just to make sure you're doing it safely before you increase the weight again. And you may not need to or want to, because you'll find that the workload changes when you add the power. The second way to instantly upgrade your workout is to go heavier. Simply do that. So I alluded to that fact that some of you may already be doing heavier weights, but if you're not, if you've not yet jumped on the bandwagon, now might be your time to do it. And you might have to do this on a joint by joint case. So let's say you've experienced some injury at your knees or your shoulders or your hip, and you may have to look at those exercises around that joint and say, I can't go as heavy on that one because I've had a prior injury. I have to be smarter about my exercise. Then okay, don't go heavy on those. But if you can, go heavier, which will mean you do fewer repetitions. And here's the science behind that. You're actually going to recruit more muscle fibers, and you're going to do more good in terms of utilizing certain hormones that have to come out and play. Testosterone, for instance, we don't think of that often as something that gets in the way of our exercise result, but especially as females who are aging, we produce less testosterone, and we need it in order to retain our lean muscle tissue or to build some, if that's what we're looking to do. That tone that you want comes from lean muscle tissue. So you do want some, even if the word build is not in your vocabulary or gain isn't in your vocabulary. It doesn't mean you gain size or you gain girth or hypertrophy, but it does mean that you increase the lean muscle mass, and by doing that, you will decrease your fat mass. So going heavier can be a wise thing to do. Let's talk a little bit about heavier, how we define it. So I can't tell you, instead of using 10 pounds, use 15 pounds. And that may not be relative at all, although I know I get that a lot. Or I get, if I tell someone to walk slowly on a treadmill or do a moderate workout, I often will get, okay, so could I just walk at 2.5 miles per hour? Would that be good? And my answer to that is completely a question. I don't know what that feels like for you. So for some of us, 2.5 would be incredibly slow. It would be uncomfortable because it's so slow. For others, 2.5 might actually be your peak. And that's what you're looking for, is finding out heavy according to you is what we're gauging everything as. It doesn't matter if somebody else thinks it's light or somebody else thinks it's impossible. If it's heavy to you, then it's right. So we do define that by a number of repetitions. So heavy might be defined as something you can lift 10 or fewer times before you start to reach fatigue, which might mean your form and technique start to go, or you simply are done. You've hit the wall. Now, it's much more likely to be the former, not the latter. You're probably going to reach that point where you start to feel yourself cheat, or maybe feel yourself rocking to get a little bit of momentum. So that's your time, your cue, that it's time to stop. So work on heavier if that's appropriate for you, and it's appropriate for you at different joints. The third way to instantly upgrade your workout is to go slower. Do the weight you're doing right now, and maybe you have to. You've kind of reached this point where you're at maintenance, and you go any heavier, you're going to risk injury, and you know it. You just have this sense of vulnerability about that. So wise you, use the same weight, but go slower. Instead of what might be your typical speed, let's say you're doing that 1 to 2 seconds of lifting, 3 to 4 of lowering, you're instead going to lift in 3 to 4 seconds. And maybe you're going to lower in 6 to 8 seconds. So increasing the phase of each. And you can also play with tempo in such a way that not only do you move slower, but you pause more dramatically, more emphatically, if you will. So you might lift for 3 to 4 counts, hold it at the top for 2 counts, lower in 6 to 8 counts, and hold it at the bottom, still under contraction, for 2 counts. That would be a way to really take a weight that has become way too comfortable and bump it up to something that is probably going to cause you a lot more fatigue at the end of a set. And remember here, fatigue is success. Failure is success. The fourth way that I've got for you to instantly upgrade your workout today is rest longer before you lift using the same muscle group again. Let's take an example. So you're in the middle of a workout that is, say, supersetting, and that means you're using 2 exercises doing opposing muscle groups. So it might be that you're doing a chest press and a bent over row. Now, if you just go back and forth, usually a set with slow controlled motions takes about a minute. And often many of us are done before that time is up because we're moving too quickly. But let's say instead of doing those supersets and doing a chest press and then a bent over row, you added, say, a leg press or a lunge in the middle, so that by the time you came back to the chest press, if you started with it, you went to the bent over row, and then you went to the squat, you would have had 2 minutes rest between. Now you could also add another exercise. You could add, say, a core exercise. You could do a plank in the middle, and that would give you even more rest. There's a lot of proof in science to show that the more rest that occurs, and ideally somewhere between 2 and 4 minutes of rest between using or taxing the same muscle group, can be most beneficial for older adults. So try that. Those 4 ways to instantly upgrade your workout. Add power, go heavier, go slower, and rest longer before lifting using the same muscle groups again. So, and we're talking about within the same workout. So making that perfectly clear. So what I'd love to hear is, what have you done? So which ones of those have you applied, and which ones will you apply first? And if you would like a little guidance and you have 20 pounds or more to lose, this is like the final stages of offering Fit You for those of you who want everything done for you. And an email in your inbox landing there on the weekend so you know what exercises you're going to do and what your focus and intention needs to be for that week. You'll get 4 small recipe books that'll be emailed to you so you can choose foods that fit the program without having to define or make your own, and you get all of it in time to prepare and think about changing your mindset. So you're not looking at dieting, you're not depriving yourself. We're starting right away with the right exercise, the right time, and the right nutrition and habits to support it. So if you're looking for more, that link will be in the show notes. But everyone needs to shake up their workout at some point. So let me know which one of those you're going to try. And if you have a question, leave it below the show link at flipping50.com. I love to hear from you. And if this episode was helpful, please leave a rating in iTunes and then share it with a friend. Surround yourself with a supportive community of women on the same journey. To get the most from this week's episode, check out today's show notes at flipping50.com/podcast, where you'll find the juicy free download and the resources that I mentioned in today's show. Let's start flipping 50 together.